Hi, I'm Cynthia Clark. As a soulmate palmist, I've discovered a system using hand analysis to identify your soulmate matches. Greater love is possible for you. There are 6 keys to soulmate attraction. There are 10 heart chambers in your hands that show you exactly what you need to heal. I can help you untangle dating confusion and work with the vibrational energy to change your vibration. True love exists for you if you claim it. Join me at loveinyourhands.com and find soulmate love fast. I'm Cynthia Clark, and I am a soulmate palmist and spiritual teacher. You can find me over at loveinyourhands.com. And today I want to talk a little bit about the podcast Love in Your Hands. So if you're watching live over here in Facebook, I do run a live stream on Wednesdays. And I also do a rebroadcast of the live stream into my Love in Your Hands podcast. And by the way, the podcast is available everywhere you can find podcasting. So you can go to podomatic.com is actually where I host my podcast, but you can also find it through iTunes or Spotify or Google Play as well. So all the major channels you can find Love in Your Hands podcast. And I was going back over my previous episodes, and I can't believe I've done over 80 episodes now. It's just crazy. That's a lot of episodes. But it's been a labor of love, and I'm always excited to bring in relevant information for you to guide you. I've been working with different professionals. I've been interviewing different professionals who are passionate in their field, and they've had some amazing content that they've shared. So I definitely encourage you to go back over those episodes if you're interested in just meeting some really cool people and finding out about some of the things that they're all about. Because this has been kind of an evolution of the podcast. I initially wanted to start it out just with me talking about love and relationships and things like that. And I found that I needed to bring in more elements. So that's why I brought in some interviews and did stuff like that as well. And now I am morphing it again because that's what you do when you're trying to reach your audience and help the people who you're trying to help. And what has come through for me, especially during this whole COVID shutdown kind of stuff, is I have been going inward a lot more, and I've been gathering a lot of information about soulmate love, about accessing the cosmic heart. I've really turned to my spirituality and my spiritual side of myself, and I realized that it meshes perfectly with what I do with palm reading, and it all blends together. So, what I want to start doing is helping people understand the incredibly valuable information that is found in their hands, because that is really, it's just such a treasure trove of information that can guide you in your life. And I just don't think that most people realize how important it is. So, what I want to do is invite you, whoever is listening, to be a part of the show. Okay, so, um, and I've worked with over 7,000 people, okay? So I definitely have experience in doing readings. I have experience in, how to interact with you as a guest, and I also want to hear your stories, because ultimately people who listen to podcasting, they want to hear the juicy, good stories and they want to learn from those stories. So ultimately, I feel like if you are someone who is either looking for your soulmate partner, then I definitely want to talk to you, because we can look at your own hands. We can determine your relationship archetype, your relationship genius, what it is that you actually offer a partner, and what would your soulmate partner offer you. And we can look at all kinds of great details. And I'd like to do that in on a show. And so we would actually have me looking at your hands on the show. But in addition to that, I want to hear your story of either where you are in your relationship journey. Have you found somebody? Are you dating? Are you not dating? And what is the psychology going on behind those decisions? So, and we can look at the hands to really help us determine what is the best course of action for you to take. So it's going to be kind of a give and take discovery session that everybody gets to listen in on, and it can be so fun. So, and I want to just kind of give a little example today, so that you can understand just what I'm talking about, that treasure trove of information from your hands. And I'm going to use my own hand today because that, of course, is what I have accessible today. So here is actually, I did a brand new print of my own hand. Okay. So my own hand is actually what we would call a chariot hand. And this is, you can actually take the measurements. I've got short fingers and a rectangular palm, and I have a dominant index finger or Jupiter finger. And by the way, there are 22 archetypes that can show up in your hands. So there's an amazing amount of information that can come through just a hand shape. And your hand shape forms by the time you're about 6 years old, and it impacts you for the rest of your life. So it is incredibly important information to know. So as a chariot, how I interact in relationships is that I'm always moving forward because I inspire action. That is my nature. And this goes all the way back to when I was first starting to date. And I remember very clearly being attracted to my first boyfriend because of his skiing ability, and he invited me to go skiing. And it's kind of interesting when you think of, okay, I've got a fire hand with a strong Jupiter finger. It's like, yeah, it's all about movement and action. And so I was immediately drawn to this person because of their action oriented sport. So that was kind of interesting, but it goes even deeper than that. Moving on to when I got, before I got married, I actually went up to Alaska and I tracked down my future husband at that point, because we had been, broken up for a few months, and he moved up to Alaska and I wanted to go find him. And because I'm a chariot, I went after him. I wasn't going to let him just leave. So it's interesting when you take a look at it from that perspective of the hands. And it's like, wow, okay, that's actually being in alignment with your authentic self, to not just, let things go. It's like, what action can I take to actually move this relationship forward? And sometimes that also means leaving a relationship, as painful as that can be. So it's just really fun to look at the hands and see that energy. It carries across all of my relationships, for good or bad. But it is what it is. So, so if you want to find out what your archetype is, if you want to find out other juicy details about your hands, there's so much we can look at. I mean, another aspect, is the heart line, and the heart line is the line that comes up uh, just underneath your fingers, okay, towards the top of your hand, and it comes over either towards your middle finger or towards your index finger. And again, it's like, okay, well, what is that saying? Well, that's your emotional flow. That shows literally how much do you feel and how do you express those feelings. And it turns out I've got kind of an earthy heart line, which then has a teeny little break and it curves up towards, it's actually kind of in between my two fingers there. So, and you here, I'll give a little close up here if you're on the live stream and you can see it. But yeah, so that has a significance as well. That shows that, if I'm an earthy heartline person, I need to take care of my own needs first. I need to actually spend a fair amount of time, meditating and doing my thing and whatever it is that I find exciting and interesting. And then when I have that nourished, then I can express my emotions and I can also serve others or my partner. So it's so good to know that, because it's like some people feel guilty or they feel bad. It's like, oh no, I have to go take care of myself. It's like, no, 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 that's not bad, especially if you have an earthy heartline. That's exactly what I would expect you to do. And it's actually being honoring of yourself and and what your own emotional needs are. So there's other things that show up in the hands too, like you may have a high set or a low set finger. If you look at my little finger, for example, the little finger is low set. It drops down into the palm and it makes it look shorter than it actually is. This is a very common configuration, especially in women. It's 7 times more common in women than it is in men. And it goes back to childhood. And it shows that I felt like I didn't have enough connection or closeness. And I can trace that back to some very specific instances that I've worked through over the years. What it ends up usually happening is that you end up attracting an older partner or a more mature partner. And sure enough, throughout my whole life, I've always been with older men. And I'm very comfortable with older men, and it's so interesting that it shows up right in my hands. So, and this is just a couple of things. I mean, when I do full readings, they can run over 3 hours pretty easily. But what I wanna do is just take the little gems, the little pieces of information that we can apply to the relationship arena, and everybody can learn. So, if you happen to be already in a relationship, maybe you have a story about that too. And maybe you want to talk about how you met, or, what was going through your mind when you met. Did you fall in love quickly or did it take time? And you can also look at previous relationships too that way. So these are the kind of stories that I want to hear. Or maybe you went through a really bad relationship and something happened and you did something about it, or maybe you didn't do something about it and maybe you put up with it. I went through my own pretty toxic relationship for a couple of years. I could talk about that for several episodes, I'm sure, but ultimately what I learned was that I needed to love myself more. And that's one of the key components that I now teach in my programs and in all of my broadcasting. So it's very important that we love ourselves so we can elevate our vibrational energy to that soulmate love level. So if you're interested in this kind of stuff, and you want to be a guest on the show, uh, great. I would love to talk to you. And all you need to do is go to loveinyourhands.com and click at the bottom. I've got all my social media links. Click on the podcast link, and that'll take you to the podcast page where you can get all the information on how you can both listen to the show as well as be a guest on the show. And another thing that I want to bring into the show is if you just have a quick little question, maybe you want me to pull a card or something for you. I've got this beautiful relationship deck that I've actually created. It's also on my dating platform. If you go to loveinyourhands.com, and you can join for free, by the way. And it's super fun. You can ask the cards. So it's a deck of relationship cards. And, maybe you get the honeymoon card. Maybe a honeymoon is coming up for you. But I would be happy to pull some cards for people who have questions. If you submit a hand photo, maybe I'll look at it. And, that can just be really fun and interesting. So anyway, so that is my idea for the show. And I am still planning on doing 2 episodes a week. So one episode will be just me talking and sharing what I'm learning, especially as I'm working on this new book that is going to be just so cool, talking about soulmate love and all the new discoveries that I'm gathering up almost daily now. It's really amazing. And also, and then one day a week have somebody who I read for an interview for the show. So it's going to be a ton of fun. And if you've never done hand analysis before, it's a really awesome way to kind of get introduced into some of the finer things of hand analysis. And if you've also done it before, my particular perception is unique to even in the palmistry world, because I have been focusing so much on love and soulmate love and how do we bring more love in. And when you spend pretty much your entire day thinking about that for years, which now it's been about 3 to 4 years I've just been thinking about this, you're going to get some information. And the hands talk. Trust me, the hands talk. And they want to elevate you to that level of being happy, of finding love, of being authentic, knowing your pathway. Your hands just have such great information. And when one person learns, we all learn. And it's really exciting. And you might even be included in my new book if you end up on the show. So I would love to bring in some of these really amazing stories. So if you have an interesting story, I definitely want to talk to you. And if you don't, maybe you just need to think about it a little bit more. Because I feel like we all have interesting stories, unless we're super young or something and we just haven't had the life experience yet. But anyway, I want to share ways that we can learn from each other. And the hands are definitely the number one way to know about yourself and really be able to go inward into the treasure of you and the treasure of you in terms of relationship as well. So that is my message for today. So, and by the way, if you're listening to this on the podcast, please sign up if you want to be a guest, because I really do want to talk to you. So, and if you're on the live stream, thank you for joining me today. And it's been really fun. And I hope you're doing okay in this crazy time. And I am really envisioning, I've pulled a lot of cards on this. I've done a lot of meditating on it. Things are going to get better. So just stay positive. You have a lot of power as a co-creator of the universe. Don't give away your power. Don't give away, don't be in fear. We're not meant to live in fear. Hold the space for the light. And that's what I'm doing. And I hope you will join me in that endeavor. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate all of you. I love you. And I can't wait to get some hands, some hand photos, and start doing some readings on the show. So have a wonderful day, everyone, and I'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to Love in Your Hands. Please rate, review, and subscribe to show your support. Have a question for Cynthia? Just post a comment. This podcast is sponsored by loveinyourhands.com, the place to find soulmate love fast. Start your free Soul Connection membership today, upload your hand photo, discover your relationship archetype, and start finding soulmate matches. Just go to loveinyourhands.com to get started.